Did Detroit police miss a chance to save the life of Neziah Harris? Records uncovered by the 7 investigators tonight show that they did.
Nearly 2 years before Neziah went missing, police received a warning involving the man now accused in her murder.
And tonight, DPD says they messed up. 7 investigator Ross Jones reveals what went wrong and what's changed as a result.
Mr. Butts targeted and befriended women who had to have sexual relationships with their young daughters. He was a classic and expert groomer and pedophile.
On the same day, Jarvis Butts would be accused of killing and sexually abusing 13-year-old Neziah Harris, police and prosecutors urged the community to protect its children at all costs.
But when it comes to our children, we must be deliberative, we must be diligent, and laser focused on their safety.
We make strong and good decisions for our children, keep them out of harm's way.
But more than 20 months before Harris ever went missing, Detroit police had been warned that she'd been victimized by Jarvis Butts and failed to ever investigate.
There was enough for the department to ask about Neziah.
Yeah, we could have done better. No question.
Last month, we showed you that Jarvis Butts had been the subject of multiple complaints to Children's Protective Services, including at least one that named Neziah Harris as a victim. What we did not know at the time is that CPS wasn't the only agency who'd been warned. In April of 2022, in response to a complaint CPS had received, workers there submitted a law enforcement notification, or LEN, to Detroit police. It's an alert to possible criminal behavior that may warrant a police investigation. In this case, the complaint told DPD that there was an incident at a birthday party where a child accused Butts of sexual abuse. Neziah, and name withheld, reported that Jarvis touched them inappropriately as well. It read, "Jarvis is a sex offender and a felon." Neziah's great-aunt, Jernell, says she filed that complaint with CPS that ultimately made its way to DPD.
They're the police, they're supposed to investigate. I mean, it had all the everything is there.
But the department never did investigate, at least with respect to Neziah. Instead, according to officials, only the other alleged victim named in the report was questioned because CPS only listed her under the victim header, even though Neziah was identified as an abuse victim too.
Does that make any sense to you?
No, makes zero sense. Either they didn't read it or they didn't comprehend it. That's my opinion.
Tom Berry is a retired Detroit police lieutenant who reviewed the report that bears Neziah's name.
How many victims do you see identified there?
I see 2 for sure, maybe 3. Somebody dropped the ball. It's pretty clear by reading that there's at least 2 allegations of sexual assault there.
Her name was right in the report. At a minimum, the department should reach out to her and at least ask if something happened. But that didn't happen.
It did not.
Today, Assistant Chief Charles Fitzgerald makes no excuses, saying much has changed with how the department handles the more than 5,000 LEN reports it receives every year. Unlike when the Neziah complaint came through, he says DPD now interviews everyone identified inside, regardless of whether they're listed under the victim header. Complaints are triaged and are assigned quickly, and missing information, like in this case, Neziah's last name, is ferreted out by investigators.
It's a horrible excuse. We still should have done what we should have done.
The fact that they acknowledge it shouldn't have worked this way, and it took for something so tragic to happen to her, you're damn right it shouldn't have worked that way. They should have did their job.
Kiwana Morton is one of Neziah's relatives who says she filed complaints with CPS too. She wonders tonight if the 13-year-old's fate might have been different had police ever bothered to reach out.
Somebody has to answer for that. They absolutely do. CPS and DPD.
I think the obvious question that a case like this begs is how many other victims or alleged victims in reports like this were named but never contacted by DPD.
Yeah, prior to the recent process, I don't know. I would hate to speculate even.
Do you worry that there are other cases like this?
Of course, yeah, for sure.
I don't think it stopped in one child sliding through the crack. They clearly weren't doing their jobs.
We don't know, of course, what Neziah might have said to police if she'd been interviewed. The other alleged victim who was questioned made no disclosures of abuse. Jarvis Butts denied he touched anyone when questioned by police, and he has maintained his innocence since being charged. But by not asking the question, you know she couldn't possibly have said something was going on, and that's what haunts the family and will haunt the family, I think, for a very long time.
Well, of course, trust's so hard when the system fails you, you know.
And to see their names in a report 2 years earlier is frightening.
And if they're saying that procedures have changed, certainly our hope is that
Absolutely.
fewer people will fall through any cracks. All right.
Thanks a lot,
Ross.
Ross.
Of course.